starting off today, of course, the news, which is the biggest rail strikes in 30 years, in full swing up and down the UK today, with parts of Britain finding that they have no train services at all. So far, have the strikes affected you, Shan? I mean, a lot of our team, people were very late today. Everyone's struggling trying to get to work. How's it been generally for you?
Well, I was lucky I got a car into work and I was going in the direction out of London, but on the other side of the road, the tailbacks were absolutely huge. But nevertheless, it did take an hour to make the journey. But I feel in two minds about this strike. I feel sympathy for the workers. I feel that, you know, they've got every right to demand improvement in the way that the railways are run, which is, you know, a lot of competing companies, structures of management. They're perfectly entitled to question the fact that our railways seem so dysfunctional. And we've seen one train company after another, you know, relinquish their franchises because they can't make it pay because the government asks too much money from them in franchise fees. But at the same time, you can't help feeling that we've all got to be realistic and that some of the people who can't work from home are the worst affected by the strike, and the people who can work from home, the civil servants and the people whose companies have allowed them to work from home, you know, they've got it all right today. The other thing is that public sector workers haven't seen their pay go up by as much as private companies have done increased wages. So it's really, really difficult. On the other hand, if we do see one strike after another, you know, Britain will grind to a halt and it'd be really bad for the economy.
Well, you do wonder whether this would set a precedent that if they're successful and they get their 7% pay rise, who follows suit? The ripple effect of that. Because like you said, most people would say we'd all like a pay rise. Everybody would like a pay rise. Of course they would. So it is, and like you, we discussed it a bit yesterday, Denise, didn't we? But obviously we wanted your take, Janet, because you weren't here.
But isn't the problem that we live in two Britons? The people who run the businesses, who award themselves giant pensions, huge bonuses and so on. And in the paper today, I read that the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, is considering relaxing the pay constraints on bosses of companies in a bid to attract more industry and more investment in Britain. So he might say, yeah, I've got to make Britain a more attractive place to work. But if you're working on low pay, they are the people most affected by the strike today. And they're the people for whom, you know, pay rises are not keeping in line with inflation.
It's how we move forward. I mean, the fact that I can't get home today and might be in a horrible queue tomorrow is not the end. Is not the end of the world. It's the fact that, you know, we've got a family member very sick in Chelmsford. People are struggling to get down there. People with hospital appointments. But I heard the head of Network Rail on the telly this morning, and the thing is, every person I hear, I sort of relate and agree has a very valid point. But his was that the more militant of the unionists are not prepared to move forward in, you know, they still want to hang on to
practices.
As in working practices.
It's not just about money, is it?
And he said that if they're not prepared to move on technically, then there won't be the capacity to make the money that they're wanting. So the way he put that, I can also understand, even though I'm a complete technophobe and would like everything to stay with the curly wire on the telephone.
But I think that's the concern for many of the rail workers, is that by moving forward, modernising, making it more efficient...
Well, there's been this long-running dispute about manning levels on trains that are becoming more and more automated and require less and less staff. And we see, and there have been the arguments about whether guards are needed and about safety standards, which is something that none of us can know the reality of because we're not, you know, people running the railways or working.
But that's why you say with the unions, Brenda, that's their job. You know, I don't know why people are surprised that they're fighting for their workers, because that's the job of a union. And they're going to go in and make the highest of demands, aren't they? And then the employers are going to say no. And somewhere they've got to meet in the middle, I suppose,
because they're talking 6 months,
find a compromise. Because if they don't, I mean, the thing is, it's trying to encourage people then back onto the trains. If this goes on too long...
Well, the thing is, for me, I usually get a train and I'm doing Chicago and Cardiff. I had to leave last night and get a taxi to come down here last night straight after the show. Couldn't say hello to anybody at the station. Or sorry, I've got to go because I'm on the show today. And then I've got to get another taxi, pay for another taxi to go back. And there was so many cars on the road, whereas I usually take a nice eco-friendly train. And so that's got, you know, you've got 3 days this week where that's going to be
Of course, they lost so much staff during lockdown as well, and a lot of people don't want to, you know, want to go back, which is the same across so many businesses at the moment. You know, the word short-staffed
Janet
is
said,
just all we hear.
it's not just the railways, is it? So many businesses were struggling, airlines were struggling. So the
I'm
RMT
going to
union...
Heathrow today. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're
I'm
not.
going to Terminal 2 at Heathrow. If you see me, please.
Good luck.
Janet, don't say
maybe
hello because
your
you
bag
won't want
might be in
anyone
there,
to say
Janet.
hello. So don't pretend that you
I'm
want
having
people
my
to come
bag
over
chained to
and
my
say
wrist.
hello.
My bag's been chained to my wrist, and I want a lessening queuing before I leave the building.
Just to be fair here for both sides, the RMT union say the workers are striking over job cuts, pay, working conditions and practices and pensions, and they believe that Network Rail plans to cut up to 2,500 jobs as part of a £2 billion reduction in spending. Wow. Network Rail, on the other hand, say we can't keep relying on government handouts, and so we must work together with train operators and our trade unions to save millions of pounds and deliver a more efficient railway. And that is where it gets
And
stuck.
they also said that they were talking voluntary redundancy.
Yeah. OK, so I think it's, it is about talking, isn't it? But listen, our sympathies for you if you were struggling or to get home or get in, or maybe you're just working from home today. Maybe you're not even supposed to be watching us, but we're glad you are.